Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of General Geekery. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is JD.
Hello.
And as promised, we have a bunch of content for year end. One of those things came up during our one of our last episodes, which was a follow-up to a previous episode, which was a follow-up to a previous episode, where we picked the top 10 figures we wanted to see in the classified line. That was, we did the original episode in 2020 when the line started. And then we did uh, an updated episode, and then we did an updated episode of that based off just to see what had gotten made and what hadn't, and see if our choices had changed based on what had come out and what had been announced. That being said, real quick announcements today. Of course, the Arctic classified Hiss is going up for pre-order here pretty soon. If it's not already up for pre-order, I don't think it is, but it's going up soon, I think. And they announced three Arctic themed figures that are not coming with the Hiss, but will be available roughly the same time as my understanding. One is a Arctic Steel Brigade, which I find amusing because that's one of the figures on my workbench right now is an Arctic themed Steel Brigade, um, and a Arctic Night Viper and an Arctic Saw Viper, which both look pretty cool. So I will definitely pick up the
I'll give the Steel Brigade the Steel Core figure this. It's a repaint of Big Ben, and it looks really good in the Arctic colors. Um, I do kind of wish that it was an Arctic Big Ben like we got back in 2000, but that's fine. Steel Brigade is fine, and if you put a different head on it, it can be whoever the hell you want it to be. The the Night Viper is interesting. Um, they're calling it the Drift Viper, but in my opinion, if you're gonna call it something else, give it different gear. But whatever. Like Brian said in the text, you know what? Still a Night Viper, and it looks very cool in those colors.
It does.
Um, and no, I'm not saying that because it's Arctic warfare.
It reminds me of the Black Major one that they did in all white, and they called it it was essentially a ghost version. So it was
ah,
like active camouflage was kind of the idea.
oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Mm. You know what? You had an idea like that for that weird red Night Viper that we got from the retaliation line. Like that was active camo. So
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
The
So
Arctic Night Viper is in fact Night Viper. He's just
yeah, using active cam.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, um, and on that note, since JD mentioned that Big Ben figure came from uh the year 2000, JD and I both decided that we wanted to do a top 10 picks for the classified line post 1994. So no figures from the vintage line, figures that we want to see in the classified series post 1994. I don't know that anybody else has done a wish list like this, at least not that I've seen on any of the other podcasts. So,
Not that I've seen. I haven't even seen like a topic in groups about this. So
yeah,
um this could be territory where not many people have really thought of because there's still I think the majority of collectors are still people who either bought the original line and stopped or and got back into GI Joe later, or that's still their favorite line even if they did buy some of the later stuff. So but yeah, we decided to compile a list of all all figures released sometime between 1997 and well now. So this was a surprisingly hard list to come up with because there are really a lot of figures, a lot of characters, and a lot of different versions of like later versions of troopers that I actually really liked. This was kind of hard to narrow down to just 10. I've got a couple of honorable mentions because of it.
I'm gonna probably have to. I think this list is gonna be esoteric enough that I'm probably gonna have to edit this and drop in photos of the figures that we're talking about as we talk about them because people are not going to recognize any of these figures.
That's a good idea. Some of these are, they may have been popular at the time, but in the years since, they will have definitely fallen off the radar. You know, when yojo.com, I mean, the website still exists,
It
but
does.
for all intents and purposes, it went belly up even before the pandemic. They stopped updating because the site got sold to a bigger site that basically leaves it in place for advertising revenue.
Yeah,
And so a lot of these characters, with the loss of an archive that keeps these things in people's minds, they're kind of lost to time, some of them.
it is.
Um,
And because nothing has stepped up to take its place. We're getting that Kickstarter with the books coming out pretty soon, but that only goes up to a certain period of time too.
I
Uh,
mean, 3djoes.com is an amazing site that chronicles the entire vintage line, but nothing beyond that.
nope.
And yeah, you're right. There's really no archive sites for later stuff, especially not some of the really esoteric stuff or some of the really out there stuff like Sigma 6. The best place to go for archives on things like that are like generaljoes.com, where you can still find a lot of old reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of these characters are going to be largely forgotten about,
All right.
except by us.
Heads or tails? Heads goes first.
Tails.
Flip a coin.
Heads.
All right. I'll go first. All right. My first pick, and this is why I'm gonna have to drop a picture in of this. JD will recognize the name of the figure and the version immediately, but for me to mention this particular figure, in this particular version, it's going to put an image into your mind, and it will be the wrong image. I will guarantee you that.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm curious. Um,
my first pick is Rock Viper version 2.
Range Viper repaint.
Yes.
That's a fucking good choice. I never thought about that.
Yep.
Wow. That's a fucking good choice.
So
Um,
we've gotten a really nice range viper. We've gotten the range viper that came with the Hiss Fire Team 788, and then I got my Grim Viper yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I would like the Rock Viper version 2, which is essentially a repainted range viper, but it's
uh,
really cool color schemes. Again, I'm going to drop pictures in with some really cool paint apps. They started using washes in these uh, early 2000 figures, and they did a really good job with it.
I really like that figure. Way back, I don't have any of them now, but way back then, because it was in a 2 pack with Major Blood. It was a repaint of the Supersonic Major Blood,
Yeah,
and I at one time had 6 or 7 of those packs, and I found custom uses for the extra Major Bloods, but I really like that version of the Rock Viper. And the file card said Rock Viper. All the file card text was off the original file card for the Rock Viper, but the figure and all of the gear was the 1990 Range Viper. So and I think most people use them as range vipers because it made sense. And that's a good choice. Yet I forgot about it until you just mentioned it. So,
I think I've got like three or four of them. Anytime I find one for a decent price somewhere, I pick it up.
you know, I'm really glad that that's one of those that it can be had for deals. That little that lost period of GI Joe between 2000 and 2002,
Yeah.
before the new sculpt lineup started, most of those can be had for decent prices.
Most, not
But
all of them. That
no,
Serpent,
not all of them.
that
But
Serpentor is stupid expensive, and that made that Shock Viper one of my hardest figures to get for my collection. All right, GD, go with your first pick.
Redknock Burnout.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
he was the he was the first new Dreadnought added to their roster after the vintage line ended.
Yep.
Um, in fact, the last Dreadnought released in the original line was Supersonic Road Pig. But
Yeah.
after they didn't introduce any new characters, any new Dreadnoughts in any of the repaint years. So the new sculpt era, they when they were doing the Spy Troops line with 2-packs, they released Dreadnought Burnout.
Yeah.
He had he had dreadlocks. He was an all new sculpt. Uh, he he really he added some diversity to the dreadnoughts that wasn't there before,
Yeah.
and he had a really great look, including he had arm wraps and he had like knuckle spikes
Yeah.
on arm wraps on his fists. He Yeah, he was really cool, and I want to see, since I started buying the classified dreadnoughts and absolutely fell head over heels for them. I really want to see some of the later dreadnoughts added,
Yeah.
starting with Burnout.
I it's funny you should mention him because I looked at that. I'm like, you know what? I think that one's going to be a given.
I hope so.
I think I cannot see them not doing Burnout at some point in time. All right. My next one, again, I'm gonna have to drop pictures in here because I don't think a lot of people are going to recognize this one, is the electric eel. It was,
Wait, translucent or
yeah,
gray?
translucent.
Oh,
Yeah.
um,
I want the uh translucent electric eel.
anybody who doesn't remember this figure, picture a Cobra eel, but it's Gatorade colored, and it's awesome. One of the Valor versus Venom repaints of the eel. Yeah, they made it. He was they made a hybrid between eels and the troopers. So when they venomized him, yeah, he turned yellow and it was awesome. You made a custom of him years ago,
Did.
a few years, and I think that would be awesome. Even if they just repainted the Cobra eel, I wouldn't give a shit. I'd still buy it if it was translucent. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I yeah, I think since they have a Hydro Viper coming, they're gonna have enough parts between the Hydro Viper and the eel that they can kit bash something together, do it in translucent neon green, and it will look awesome. So that is my second pick, is the translucent electric eel.
I would buy the shit out of that.
I would too.
Um, that would be one that I would be weird enough. I'd probably have to have two. Um, my second choice, another of the latter day dreadnoughts, Storm Rider. It was
Ooh,
released with the first wave of the Pursuit of Cobra line in 2010. He was released with a motorcycle that had like pop out blades from the side. I never had it. It was not an easy set to get, and
that's
it
funny.
wasn't rare, but so much as they just I didn't see a lot of stores stocking him, so I didn't have him. But he was a repaint of, I think, Shipwreck, but he had a new head sculpt and he had a bandana covering his
Yeah,
face, and he looked like something straight out of like the Sons of Anarchy.
yeah.
And I would love to see Storm Rider added to classified, with or without the motorcycle. It really doesn't matter. I mean, without is probably more likely, and I'd be fine with that because there's no shortage of 1/12 uh, motorcycles out there if you need them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would really like to see that character given another shot the at the spotlight because at the time people liked him.
And it's
So
funny because that you say you weren't able to get one because that thing was everywhere here. I mean, I couldn't swing a dead cat and not hit one of those things.
uh,
And then eventually they dried up, and I went looking for one for some reason. I think I wanted parts. I wanted him for parts for a custom, and I went looking for one, and they are stupid expensive last time I looked for them.
yeah, he that whole line of that Pursuit of Cobra line was popular at the time and then real popular after they stopped shipping. And most of them are expensive. But yeah, Storm Rider's one of the few brand new characters we got from there. And I don't know, I'm just imagining him with the rest of the classified dreadnoughts and like, please.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good choice too. My third one uh is probably will not come as any big surprise to JD. Mirage version 5.
A translucent one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, clear plastic from the
So I wrote this list shortly after I got my the last the latest Monster Force Operation Monster Force exclusive figures. So the racer, so I just gotten the one from Toy Atlanta that was all clear, and I have all four versions of him, and three of them are translucent, and I absolutely love that figure. And I'm like, you know what? A translucent Mirage, that's one of the few figures that is on my wish list still is the version 5 Mirage. So,
yeah, he was part of the winter operation 6 pack from Toys R Us. Most of them, they were all repaints of previous figures,
yeah.
but Mirage was he had a string of repaints in very different shades of green
Yes.
in between between 2002 and 2005 when that set was released. And but it was the only one that wasn't any sort of shade of, yeah, he was clear with some silver highlights, and he is
And
a very cool looking figure. And honestly, if they did that one, it would be natural that they would give us a Mirage figure, which is an update from the vintage line I never even thought of. So I really love the idea of maybe seeing one of the more tactically colored Mirages that we saw, and then getting a clear repaint. That'd be great.
how about a two pack?
How about that? Would be fantastic. I would need that. That would be
Mirage,
an immediate pre-order.
any of the Mirage, uh, any of the, and as JD said, I mean, just the, uh, think about the number. So I'm picking the version 5, and that figure came out in 2000, and they made this one in 2005. So there were five versions of that figure in that short amount of time. Not even Snake Eyes has that many versions in that short amount of time.
No. Yeah, that's a good choice.
No
He
other figure has had that many versions in that short of period of time. So
Because he was in a 2 pack with a couple of different Cobras,
yeah,
and then he was released with the weirdest hovercraft in the entire line. And and then yeah, winter operations, and then they stopped using that mold. He's a great figure. He had a great design. He was
yeah,
really futuristic
yeah.
looking, and that giving him some brand new kick ass gear, uh, he'd make an awesome addition to
Yeah.
the
So
classified line.
I think a two pack would be awesome. You pick any one of the first four versions and then have the translucent and call it like active camouflage version.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
good choice.
go with your next one.
Um, the Cobra Sand Viper. He was on my list that
Yeah.
we did of my classified wish list from a couple weeks ago, but he makes the transition because I really so badly want a Sand Viper in the classified line. He just, I remember getting that first one and just thinking to myself, now this is a Cobra Trooper that we've never seen anything like it. And then they repainted him a few times, and it was all cool. And the Cobra Sand Viper would look amazing in the classified line.
Yeah, that's plus there were so many awesome repaints of that figure. Every last one of those repaints was an awesome version of that figure. I did a female version of it this year, and it was definitely one of my more popular customs for the year. Um, yeah, I would buy the shit out of that.
I with or without his pet lizard from the first release, because the repaints didn't have the
Yeah,
it was like a wasn't
iguana.
no, it wasn't a lizard, it was like a Gila
Gila
monster.
wasn't a Gila monster.
Or
Uh,
a
I'm on
yeah,
the fence about that because if it comes with an animal, my wife is gonna steal the animal.
that is true because she stole the iguana from your Cobra Commander too, right?
She did.
Um,
I don't have that anymore. It's in the zoo at work. So, yep. My next one is Scrap Iron version 4. So this is from the DTC line. It is Scrap Iron in um the sculpt didn't age well, but I think the premise did. I've done a updated version of this. It's scrap iron and battle armor, essentially.
I actually considered adding this one to the list, but I was like, scrap iron. So, you're right. The sculpt didn't age well, but the details were really cool on that
Yeah.
figure.
So it's definitely it's a red. You'll see pictures of it, but it's red, white, and blue, or red, and blue, and gray, I think. And
Yeah,
um, yeah, yeah, it didn't age well, but yeah, the sculpt was the idea was phenomenal. And I think with either a recolored version of the drone that he came with or an updated weapon system, another deluxe sized updated weapon system would be phenomenal.
that would kick ass.
Yeah.
That would really kick ass because that is one of those lost versions of a character that people don't remember. But I think if he had been released in a different era, he might have had more staying power.
Yeah, I think so. I think if they'd have done a slightly less soft sculpt in the Pursuit of Cobra era, they that would be a top contender for any like favorite figures list would be would be that scrap iron because it is, I mean, for the time it was a fucking awesome version of scrap iron. I used it for a bunch of customs when I first started customizing.
All right, next up my list, the Cobra Sniper Blackout.
Ah,
Yeah, Thomas Stahl. He was a candidate for GI Joe, but he washed out. So he got angry and he joined Cobra because his brother got picked for GI Joe, his sister got picked for GI Joe. He wound up on the Cobra side, but God, I love that figure. I
yeah,
love that storyline.
yep.
Um, he got an update in the figure subscription service from the club. Not a great update, but it was an update.
It was okay.
And well, he got a second version at least, and I really want to see what Classified would do with him. He would be fucking amazing.
I did a custom of him a number of years ago, and it was one of my favorite customs from that year. Because I went all out and gave him a shit ton of gear and custom built sniper rifle, a couple sniper rifles for him, and gave him a bunch of lowlights like the Pursuit of Cobra lowlights gear, and just I went crazy with that particular figure because I too absolutely love the character, love the backstory. Blackout has been on two of my classified wish lists since we started doing this. So yeah, absolutely Blackout. Oops. My next one, again, should come as no surprise to JD, and that is Guillotine.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Yeah. The
um,
Cobra Eel Commander.
you'd think I would have seen that coming, but no. Um, I uh, yeah, that would be really cool. Like just do him. Yeah,
There's been a
yeah,
couple, there's been two different versions of him. I like both of them. I think there's been two different versions. Didn't the because there was one in the Plague Trooper set, and then wasn't there one in the class in the didn't they do one, the club did one in
oh
the
yeah. The club did do one, and that one was stupid expensive from its release. In fact, I think the original, the Plague Trooper guillotine, he's expensive on the secondary market. But if they're because one thing I do want to see from the classified line is troop commanders, which they've done a few times in various toy lines, but I would like to see that happen for classified. And I like the idea of a named character as the troop commanders and
yes.
guillotine. I would definitely have to buy that, especially if they updated the helmet and his sword with the skull on the hilt,
Yeah.
or as the pommel of the hilt. That would
But
look
the
awesome.
well, and the handle is vertebrae.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty gross. It's pretty gnarly looking. And considering some of the gnarly accessories we've had in the classified line already, look at everything that comes with Crystal Ball. That would be fucking awesome. Really, that would, man, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it would be
I would go
fantastic. I think
crazy for that.
yeah, it wouldn't take much. I think you could probably again use um the Cobra Eel buck, a new head sculpt and new gear, and pick a paint scheme and go with it. And yeah, it would not be a you just need the helmet, a decent backpack, and his signature sword and a decent gun. Give him a decent gun. And then yeah, I think that would be a fantastic update for the classified line.
Now I want to see that. Now that's an honorable mention on my list, and it was nowhere near my list before. Um, my next choice is again from an earlier list of mine, but the 2002 torpedo, the land-based fatigues torpedo, where he's
Yeah.
wearing the watch cap, makes this list too. That's how badly I want this version of torpedo to get the classified treatment. I don't really care what they do with it. I just want to see another torpedo. He was the first land-based uh BDU like green fatigues wearing because seal that we got in the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an athletic clothes version, or there was an athletic clothes uh Navy SEAL named Tracker in 1991, but he's he was brightly colored. There was nothing remotely tactical about him. And uh Torpedo, he got the figure in 2002, and then they wound up doing a later they wound up repainting it, I think, as a couple of other figures, but that it kind of worked in every color scheme. But I want to see it. I want to see Torpedo with, yeah, give us his watch cap and his gear and give him a rebreather and flippers and fuck yes. I really want to see that.
And as I mentioned when JD picked it the first time, it's the figure is unique, but at the same time, it's nondescript. So it would be perfect for any number of customs. I mean, it needs to be a new buck. Don't it has to be a new buck.
I
I
agree.
not want to see any reused parts on this because this once they make this buck, that will precipitate a whole bunch of other figures using this buck because it will be an amazing buck. So yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And of course, Torpedo, my favorite Joe, my first Joe, I would 100% buy that one
Yeah,
without.
Torpedo needs. He's one of those characters that I would like to see come out every few years, um, in different ways. And the next release, I feel like has to be in 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 tactical gear.
My next pick is not one figure. It's it's a bunch. And that is the Flaming Moth series.
Uh, um, yeah, Operation Flaming Moth. It was a GI Joe Collectors Club subline of figures. They had a storyline where there was a satellite, a Cobra satellite in space that crashes to the Earth, and different components wind up in different areas of the world because it burns up in on reentry. And there's a race across the globe between GI Joe and Cobra to pick up these pieces. GI Joe wants to recover it, so Cobra can't use it. Cobra wants to recover it. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was supposed to be a prototype of a line of satellites that they were using, and yeah, they made a bunch of ingenious environment specific repaints of Cobra Troopers. And considering we just saw some Arctic themed repaints of Cobra Troopers today that they are going to do in classified,
Yeah.
I think I think desert versions and jungle versions of some of these troopers we've already gotten released in classified, like the Frag Viper, like the Range Viper. Um, yeah, that would be phenomenal.
That would entail them making a Flak Viper and a Ice Viper, which are the only two figures from that particular set of figures that have not been made yet, as well as an updated version of Chuckles and Shipwreck, which I don't think would be difficult on either one of those. And then, yeah, I saw that repainted Night Viper today, the art in the Arctic colors, and I'm like, you know what? If they're gonna repaint it in Arctic colors, they sure as fuck can repaint it in jungle colors for the Flaming Moth series.
Yes, and in fact, your response when I sent those when I sent you the Night Viper and the Saw Viper was, but no Ice Viper. Fuck. Um, yeah. Then the Ice Viper would not be difficult to do. Give him new boots. Give him the red balaclava, and whether he's got the Cobra Wolf or not, since people would love to see it, but I don't know if it's likely for classified.
Yeah, I don't. That would be a
He's a
tough one.
pretty memorable trooper
Yeah.
that people really like. In fact, one of the GI Joe groups this week was running like a poll for Who's Your Joe, where you put two vintage figures together and you pick which one, and then it's like brackets, and the Ice Viper has come up a couple of times, and that seems to have a pretty big fan base. So I think a classified version would be really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, not one, but like six different figures for my for that pick. So
You know what? I'm in support of this. Um, my next choice is look, Chuckles is one of my favorite characters. I do not have the classified Chuckles. It was too much of a kitschy update of the 1987 figure. Now, mind you, I love the 1987 Chuckles, but for classified, I understand why they went retro in the first place. Um, but I don't have it because it was an overpriced exclusive. But I would like to see a Chuckles figure that's more, keep the Hawaiian shirt. Maybe give him a different pattern, different color of Hawaiian shirt. Keep the Hawaiian shirt, but give him a flak vest. Give him tactical gear. There was a in the 50th anniversary Toys R Us line. There was a set. There was an Awe Striker released with Night Fox and Chuckles, and that Chuckles, he had a brown Hawaiian shirt, khaki pants, plate carrier, and different gear, and like a bandana. So he was very much like a CIA operative, and that I want to see a Chuckles figure that that's yeah, that's a little more serious, a little more it means business, a little less with silly accessories. Um,
It's I did a custom Chuckles. I used a Marauder Task Force suited figure. I put a plate carrier underneath his suit jacket and gave him some suppressed weapons and called him a CIA liaison for the GI Joe team.
that would be great. Like it, even if um even if um even if even honestly even if they went with the original color scheme, um like I said, I love the original, but I want to see something different. And yeah, I really would like to see them take another crack at Chuckles, non-exclusive this time. And yeah, give us a because honestly, there was the 50th anniversary version, and then the GI Joe Collectors Club for one of their convention sets also did a Chuckles wearing a vest. And both of those figures at this point in time are pretty damn obscure. They're
Yeah.
both expensive on the secondary market. In fact, they're both hella expensive on the secondary market. And I think people that weren't aware of those before would like to see them in classified or didn't have them before. I think a lot of people would like to see that in classified.
Yeah, absolutely. My next pick is and since you're talking about club subscription service figures, I want to see the 2013 Kim Arashikage version 2. So that's the one she's wearing the kind of red and black bodysuit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
That
that.
was the figure that they used as the basis for the canceled City Strike Scarlet that never got made. That was just
Oh, one of
probably one of the best Scarlet
uh,
figures that would have ever existed, but didn't get made. I've seen prototypes and it's just an amazing figure. I want to see the version 2 Kim Arashikage. Again, I like Jinx. I did not like the classified version of Jinx that came out in any way, shape, or form. I had the vintage one as a kid and loved that one. I did like some of her looks she had different looks in the comic book. Um, I loved her from the G.I. Joe movie. This is my version of Jinx. This is the definitive Jinx that I want.
yeah, because the in the Valor versus Venom line, she had that it was like a tunic
Tunic, yeah.
and she had leg wraps, and it was the first time we'd gotten an unmasked Jinx figure.
Yes.
And she came with the blindfold as she should, and then the club for their first or second edition of the figure subscription service, yeah, they repainted that City Strike Scarlet in the red and black, and it was a gorgeous version of Jinx. And I have the classified. I love it. I love that figure. But I would like to see the updated look for Jinx. That would be great. I would definitely buy that.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. Um, my next choice is uh, well, I did say something from Sigma Six was going to be on this line. The Sigma Six Firefly. He was wearing black with orange highlights. He was intended to be a Joe, and it was the same thing. There was as Blackout. Not so much that he wasn't chosen for Joe, but he turned traitor while he was a Joe. After he joined the Sigma Six team, I I don't really think he was intended to be the original Firefly. I think he was supposed to be. I think he was supposed to be a new character, um, using the Firefly name, but he went Saboteur and switched to Cobra. And I always thought of him as perhaps one of the acolytes of the original Firefly because I like the idea that Firefly has apprentices and whatever that he trains over the years, and you've got to be certain a certain level of qualification for him to okay you to use the name Firefly.
Right.
And the Sigma 6 version, he was really different and really cool. And I'd actually really like to see him get a class 5
That would be an interesting one to be sure. Yeah. I
version.
mean,
I don't think it's very likely, but I would love to see it.
we've gotten a couple versions of Firefly in the classified line, and they've both been very, very nice figures. So to have another version of Firefly, Firefly is definitely one of my favorite characters from the line, definitely one of my favorite figures from the line. Yeah, I would be all over that.
I think Firefly is a classic character. He's iconic for a reason.
Yeah.
He's had numerous different looks over the years, different color schemes, um, different, um, just different looks for him, and they have all worked as updates for Firefly for me. And I'm of the opinion you can't have too many Fireflies. So it's only a matter of time before we get another one in classified. Probably one that branches out a little bit. I have seen some people wishing for the 2000 or the 1992 Firefly, so the green and gray one, and I'd love to see that one too.
I
But
would too.
Sigma 6 Firefly, I think, would be an interesting way to mix it up. So I'm not going to hold my breath for it, but it's on my wish list.
Yeah, that I think that I think that's super super esoteric. I was gonna say I would be surprised to see them touch the Sigma 6 line, but I don't think anything's off the table as near as I can tell.
I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but but I do. I mean, Sigma 6 is 20 years old now. It launched in 2000. Yeah, it launched in 2005, late 2005, I think, and then 2006. So it's way in the rear view mirror at this point. But I have to assume somebody working at Hasbro probably was a fan of Sigma 6 at one point. So I like to think maybe one of them would like to get something from Sigma 6 in the line. So I it was a crazy era of GI Joe that was it was a divisive toy line,
Was.
but but the fans really loved it and the non-fans, well, they didn't. But some of these things, I think if they went back and they circled around and they made them compatible with classified, I think it could be pretty dynamite.
One of the things that makes me think that some of these guys are Sigma 6 fans is the absolute giant animals that we've gotten in the classified.
That's true. The Sigma 6 did have a bunch of animals. They were all really well done. That's a good point. That's
Yeah,
a
they're
really good point.
all huge. So I mean, you got Snake Eyes with the polar bear, you've got Croc Master with the huge croc, a Spirit with the eagle. I mean, there's you got
Oh
Tim.
yeah, Desert Scorpion with the gigantic
Yeah,
uh um um experience. Yeah, the or it wasn't.
mutant
Yeah,
scorpion.
it was like a mutant, like a lab grown mutant scorpion.
Yeah.
So that would be that would be really fucking cool because
Oh, I
there's
think I think I'm not going to say that those are nods to the Sigma 6 line, but I wouldn't be surprised if they
I
are.
wouldn't either.
All right.
Um,
Next one on my list. I'm not even going to try and say the original figure's name because this one is one of the Brazilian figures, but it's translates over into, and this particular figure was in a convention set, and that is Flying Scorpion.
oh yeah, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that either. Um, that would be incredible. Um,
And I would like to see the one from the club set because that used the backpack from the Pursuit of Cobra ripcord, which was phenomenal piece of equipment and
oh yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah.
phenomenal piece of equipment and the sculpt was fantastic. They repainted I think it was Cesspool's head and a really cool update for the helmet, and the color scheme is fantastic in the red and black, and just the backstory is on it is pretty cool. So I would like to see the the flying scorpion in the classified.
Good choice. Um, all right, let's see who we got left. I went out of order with this list.
So did I.
Um, my next choice is the Cobra security officer from the Rise of Cobra line, the Night Adder. Um, he uh he he was yeah, it was a security, yeah, because I think it was Cobra security officer on the package. I think so. Um, he had a helmet to conceal his identity, but he was covered in, he was covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
Um, he was shirtless with a flak vest, and he had a uh like a pit bull with him. And you know, at one of the recent conventions, during one of the panel presentations, there was I saw photos of one that they had. It was like a spiked collar with a handle on the back of it, and it was like an accessory tease. There was no context given for it. It was just simply shown, and I don't know what Hasbro's intention with that, but it definitely looks like it was meant to go around the dog. I have no idea what their intention is, but it does look like it would be a cool accessory for a Night Adder figure. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high that that's what they have in mind, but I will hope that if that's not their intention, that accessory might get a reuse with Night Adder at some point. And really, we got Raucous with Road Big, and we've got Junkyard with Mutt. Either of them repainted
Yeah.
as the dog that came with Night Adder. That dog did not have a name, so they'd be able to give that. They would be able to give the dog
Yeah.
a name too,
Yeah.
which they've done with all of the classified animals. They've all gotten names, and so this would be another one that they could give a name to. Night Adder, he was a great character,
It was.
and he was popular at the time, and I'd love to see him make a comeback.
Yeah, I could see that one for sure. I honestly would be surprised if they didn't do that one at some point in time because it is such a unique character. It's such a unique position. I mean, it was essentially a canine, Cobra canine handler, and they've never, ever,
No,
ever
no, they did.
touched on that before or since. And that seems like a glaring omission considering the number of canine handlers that we have in the Joe line.
And well, and see, Cobra they have the Crocmaster and his pets for like islands, like Cobra Island security of the swamps, but he's probably not hanging around the Terrordrome too much.
Right.
So another security officer to guard the Terrordrome would be ideal,
Yeah.
and that's why I like that they created Night Adder for the Rise of Cobra line. He may or may not have been in the Rise of Cobra video game. I don't know,
I don't know.
um, but he was yeah, I think he deserves another shot at the spotlight, and classified would be ideal for it.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I'm not sure we need another one, but uh, I don't. Can you have too many Scarlets? So
No,
I want.
no. In fact, I'm surprised we only have two of them in classified right now. If you don't count the repaint of the first one, but yeah, no, you can't have too many Scarlets.
So Resolute Scarlet. So version 13 of Scarlet. It's a new sculpt, but it has a more realistic version of her original color scheme, if that makes sense. Again, pictures I'll drop. I'm gonna have to drop pictures in this episode because
Absolutely, yeah. Most of these are super obscure. People that People are going to be wondering sometimes what the hell. So yeah.
So yeah, Resolute Scarlet in classified form. It was a fantastic sculpt. It's the Resolute figure is super hard to get a hold of. I have one in my collection. I'm pretty sure it's broken, but it was the best one, like the only one I could get at the time. So I I really like that particular version of Scarlet, and I think it would be a nice addition. Um, so yeah, I want to see the Resolute Scarlet version 13.
A really good. Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah. Scarlet's one of those that every couple of years they're gonna put a new one in the classified line. So and P- Resolute was popular then. It's still popular. It's available. I think it's on Amazon right now to watch,
Oh, okay.
and people have been watching it. People have been talking about it. It was popular then. It's still popular apparently, and it's only a matter of time before we get a couple of nods to Resolute in the classified line. And I think Scarlet would be a yeah, that'd be a really good choice.
Yeah.
Um, well, along the lines of, uh, or also from the Resolute line, I would actually really like to see the Resolute version of Gung Ho. He was wearing gray. He had a white T-shirt. He had a flak vest on. He was by far the most realistic Gung Ho we've gotten. Regardless, no, aside of the dress blues version from 1987, which was really picture perfect, realistic. But I would actually like to see Gung Ho because there was a repaint. There was a Frankenstein repaint of Gung Ho in the gray and white from one of the from a two pack, and I really like that figure. And I'd really like to see. I mean, I would not mind a small subline of figures that was Resolute style because I'm not a big fan of the Resolute movie. It was fine. I feel it was really overrated. I don't like the idea of killing characters off screen and just showing the bodies. That drives me nuts. And for a very short runtime, they spend an inordinate amount of time in that rehashing the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow um, rivalry.
Yeah.
But if you actually watch the series, it was more serious minded, more serious in tone than previous versions of animated GI Joe, and but the characters all looked really good. All the figures were good.
Yeah.
Stalker almost made my list because I love Stalker with the dreadlocks. But it was kind of a coin toss between him or Gung Ho, which one I was going to put on the list. So I guess honorable mention would be Stalker, but they really just they could really do an amazing job with them in classified. And honestly, Gung Ho's one that he's going to be another one. Every couple of years, we're going to get a new Gung Ho, anyways, because we have the very first one from classified that looked like Chuck Liddell, the UFC fighter, and then they did the retro version where he went back to the powdered blue with the green camo on his pants. And I know they're going to be looking for an excuse to do another Gung Ho anytime. So do the Resolute version. That'd be great. And then do Resolute Stalker while you're at it and put
Yeah.
them in a two pack.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would get the Resolute Stalker for sure. Let's see. This is my last figure. Um, and we jump forward a number of years to this will probably have to be a deluxe figure. I want the Pursuit of Cobra Jungle Viper.
Can you imagine that glorious armor that he had that was that would fully like you could wrap these armor panels around the figure completely. He was like in an armored cocoon.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that in the classified line? That would be phenomenal. That would be epic. Um, and especially give him a gigantic sniper rifle, and that and the optics on the, you know, they looked like a division of the Night Vipers. And honestly, strike while the iron's hot. We're getting a Night Viper. We're getting an Arctic repaint of the Night Viper. You know what? Give us a Jungle Viper while you're at it,
Yeah.
please. Um,
Yeah. So that's my last figure on the top 10 list. And yeah, this was not an easy list to put together because there are so many cool G.I. Joe and Cobra figures that either got one version or got a bunch of versions, but were in a less than popular era that most people have forgotten about some of these and don't remember how cool some of these figures were.
I agree. Um, and along those lines, my last choice, Overkill from 2002. He was the original Overkill was a complete robot.
Yeah.
He was the battle android trooper commander. But the second version of Overkill in the Spy Troops line, I really did love the Spy Troops line. That is why a bunch of my choices that made the list were from Spy Troops, and some of my honorable mentions and some of my didn't make the list. They were also from Spy Troops. But Overkill, this version was a cyborg. He had like a like a wrap for his face that went all the way down to the shoulders. He was fully armored from top to bottom. The only human features he had was the eyes and the skin. But yeah, it was like a bandana that went all the way around, and then he had a Kevlar helmet that went over top of. And I would really like to see that uh, because he was really popular then. I would really like to see what they would do with him with classified. Give him um the jumpsuit with the rib pattern and all the armor overlays, and fuck, that would be so cool. Plus he could have the he could have the functional hand, the two functional hands, or
Inter
the machine gun attachment.
yeah,
Um,
interchangeable
and
accessories. Yeah.
they love doing interchangeable accessories for the bat. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's get the cyborg. If they do Overkill, I imagine it'll probably be the robot version, but I'd love to see the cyborg version.
I don't know. I could see him doing the cyborg version first, honestly.
You know what? That would be great. That would be great. He was he was he was an excellent figure then. He's one of the few from that era. I think I have that figure even now. Um, and he was a great update. He was a great standalone figure. Like even if you pretend he wasn't an update, he was still a badass looking figure. Um, so yeah, that would be, yeah. I want to see Overkill in the classified line.
Yeah. No, that would be fantastic. I think one of my honorable mentions, we're talking about a couple of my honorable mentions. You were talking about like specialty Viper leaders would be Repulsor, which is the Toxo Viper, uh, Toxo Viper leader, which essentially it's a kind of it's sort of a cesspool repaint, but in very garish colors. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah, a lot of yellow there.
yeah,
Um, and
I think it would
well,
be really cool.
we don't have enough yellow in the classified line, so yeah, we need some more yellow figures.
And
Uh,
just being a translucent figure fan, I think the Fire Bat would be a fantastic, which was a
oh, the Inferno bat.
Inferno
Sorry,
Bat.
not to be that guy, but yeah, Inferno bat. Yeah, the translucent red repaint of the 1991 bat.
Yeah,
That figure was awesome. In fact, he was sold in a four that bat was sold in a 4-pack with bats and that also included a repaint of Overkill. Now they repainted the original Overkill, the robot version, but they used the version 2 color scheme. So he was in the blue, black, and teal. And holy shit, that was so cool. But an Inferno Bat, they're bound to do that at some point. They keep finding reasons to repaint the bat, so why not a red translucent version? Damn it. One of my honorable mentions, Sigma 6 Long Range.
Ooh.
He was created for the Sigma 6 line, but we wound up getting a 3 3/4 inch version from the DTC line. With the he was the pack-in vehicle driver for, was it the GI Joe Rhino? It was like an armored troop carrier, but it had like a helicopter that popped out of the back
Yeah.
of it. Uh,
I wish I still had mine. I tried to customize it and it didn't come out well, and so but that was an awesome, that was a fun vehicle to play with.
um, I love the vehicle. They in fact I think they repainted that in the Rise of Cobra line. Uh, no, it was the Rock that they repainted in the Cobra line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Rise of Cobra line, one of those vehicles. Now I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
But
don't remember it
yeah,
getting.
long range. He was a transport driver, but he had sniper qualifications. So there were a couple versions of him in the Sigma 6 line, but he had like a trench coat. He had the Sigma 6 jumpsuit. He had a boonie cap. He had a giant rifle.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple of later versions where he had like a mortar and a couple of different weapons with him. And like I said, he was one of the few figures in that area that we got in two different scales. And I'd like to see that character make a comeback for Classified just to celebrate Sigma 6. And he's an honorable mention because he was on my list and then off my list. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna tack him on at the end. My other honorable mention was the Cobra Night Watch. There was a 6 pack of that was exclusive to Toys R Us of Cobra Troopers wearing like
Uh,
a dark gray, like a dark gray color, and they looked really cool. They reused the Night Watch idea in the 25th anniversary line, but they were troopers clad in black with gray and blue camo over the black uniforms. And honestly, even if they did that one instead of the light gray original Night Watch, that'd be fine because the way I treated those was they were a precursor to the Cobra Night Vipers.
uh,
Before the Night Viper was established, they had the Cobra Night Watch. And I figure the first Night Vipers probably were the surviving Cobra Night Watch guys to train the incoming candidates for the Night Vipers. So it's an excuse to repaint Cobra Troopers because they like doing that and giving us something different other than just various shades of blue and and black for themed sets. Um, um, even if they did a even if they did a um, like a even if they did like a subline of Cobra Troopers with different or like a multi pack and included a Cobra Night Watch figure, I'd be all over that. That'd be great.
I think my last honorable mention was the Cobra Imperial Guard, which was a
Another Range Viper.
yeah, it was they didn't use the range viper body though.
No, but
Used
it did use it. It did use the head.
yeah.
Um,
It was in metallic, like metallic burgundy and gold. We already have the Baroness from that set. She came with the twins in the 3 pack. So I mean we already have the Baroness. So yeah, let's get the Imperial procession, the Imperial Guards from that.
that'd be great because honestly, they haven't made a Cobra. No, I take that back. They made the Battle Armor Cobra Commander, but they haven't made a more traditional Cobra Commander in a couple of years in the line. And honestly, wearing red for like a ceremonial uniform, that would actually be pretty cool. I would that would be one of the few circumstances that I would buy another classified Cobra Commander is if they made him real spiffy looking like that.
Yeah.
And you did an awesome custom set of the Imperial Procession, so
Yeah.
I imagine those, but done as well as you did them, bumped up to classified scale. I'd love it. I would buy it.
Yeah. Like I said, anything, it's just really amazing how much awesome stuff is out there post 1994 that I think people just have forgotten about because it either, like I said, it either got one version or it got a bunch of versions, but hasn't been touched since and was at not particular height of the G.I. Joe era, either just due to the some of the sculpting was really weird and didn't age well, or just didn't hit right with fans. For any number of reasons that some of this stuff just didn't, I don't want to say catch on, but didn't have the
It
stand.
didn't last. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was popular at the time, but for whatever reason, tapered off. Sometimes fairly quickly, and in the many years since, they've sort of been lost to the archives in the secondary market. So,
And I think that the fact that most of yours came from the Spy Troops era is a good example of that. I mean, that's when I was coming back into collecting and started customizing G.I. Joe was during Spy Troops. And some of those figures are really good figures. They're unique
well,
takes on characters that we already had that have not had takes like that since. And
well,
a lot of the gear was, well, it was kind of, I don't want to say catchy, but it was the scopes were soft at the time. They didn't have the technology to do some of the stuff that they can do now, especially if you translated that to classified scale where it would be easier to do some of that stuff. Um, I think almost anything from the Spy Troops line is going to be awesome.
and we often think of the collectors as being people in our range, like active Joe collectors being in our age range, but there was also a generation behind us that
Yeah.
like former guest of the show, Mikey Kukovic, his dad, John Kukovic, he raised him on G.I. Joe, but he's younger than us. I think he's like 30. And his Joes when he was a kid were like the Spy Troops era stuff. So there's a generation of Joe fans younger than us that they grew up on that stuff. And I know they have to be itching to see
Yeah.
some of their stuff, um, some of their childhood Joes updated into classified. And we've already gotten a taste of that with characters like Shadow Tracker and Agent Helix that came along a lot later. So I think the Spy Troops era is right for being cherry picked for classified updates.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, I think that's about all we got for this particular episode. We're gonna keep
Yeah.
it kind of short because the post-processing on this is gonna suck. I'm gonna have to play this entire episode out to do the post-processing on this. So this is gonna take me a couple of days to do. So um, that is our uh, classified top 10 classified wish list for figures and characters post 1994. In the comments below, as always, please do that fun social media stuff. Like, share, subscribe, comment below on what you would like to see in the classified line post 1994. We would very much be interested to see what your ideas are. Uh, and as always, thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody.